Before you buy another tool, watch this. The biggest mistake sewers make is not bad stitching, but instead upgrading their tools before they actually understand what they're fixing. You can spend a lot of money on tools, but that shoulder seam will still keep slipping backwards and strangling your neck. Ask me how I know. I learned the hard way. For such a long time, all of my dresses or tops kept shifting backwards and strangling me. And instead of thinking about the structure, I'm thinking, well, maybe I need to buy a new French curve. Maybe I need to press better. I'm thinking about the tools that I need that would help this from happening. Buying some new tools was so much easier than admitting that I didn't understand what was happening to make all of my clothes shift backwards. And that was the beginning of a long tool phase for me, until I finally realized I need to think about structure and not just default to tools, because tools are concrete. So much easier to go and put a tool in your cart than to really start thinking about the structure of a garment. But with every other garment I made, the neckline would still slip back, and that's the trap. And let me tell you something that took me a very long time to accept, that you can create excellent garments with very basic tools. Of course, you need a sewing machine. A very basic sewing machine will do, because obviously sewing is the foundation of creating a garment, but you do not need anything fancy. Hand-me-down sewing machines that are well maintained work perfectly fine. I had some very inexpensive machines. Even the one I have now is not very expensive. And mostly I just use the simple straight stitch and occasionally a zigzag stitch or a lightning stitch, but I really do not use all of the, it was probably like 50 stitches on there, and I probably use 4 in total. So a very simple machine is where we need to start, and often you can get a hand-me-down on that one. And related to the sewing machine is really good thread, because we think that, we'll grab that old thread that's was our great aunt's and we'll use it, and then we can't understand why it's constantly snapping. So it is really important to get good thread, and good thread is not expensive either. But I would avoid using very, very old thread, because it will really frustrate you. And have a dedicated pair of fabric shears. We need to cut out our patterns very accurately. We don't need 12 different rulers. A very sharp pair of shears that we only use for fabric is what we need. And even these are not very expensive. You do not need to buy the most expensive fabric shears. You just need to get a really good pair. I'll put a link to mine in the description below. And for the longest time, I hated marking notches and darts. I just didn't think it was necessary. I had this pink pencil that was very dull. I still have it. I just can't seem to get rid of it, but I don't use it anymore. If I did do any markings, I would use this very dull pencil, and it really does make imprecise measurements. And it is so important. I've come to realize that you measure out your darts and your notches so everything lines up. If you do not have these well marked and transferred onto your fabric, you're really going to have problems down the line. And having a good selection of pins. I like glass head pins, so I can also iron over them, and I like them to be a little bit more delicate, but any pins will do. You can work with any pins you find. I prefer more rather than less, just because I like to pin a lot to make sure my fabric is not shifting. I did go through a phase and I was trying to do the, oh, let's sew without pins. And it's sort of a little bit more of an ego trip. I know that professional seamstresses don't really use pins, but I am not trying to go to that level. I just want to make sure I have a really good garment. So I have learned to use a lot of pins. And lastly, you need a really good iron. I use the iron that I've always had in my house. You don't need to get one of those very, very expensive irons, but a just nice, good steam iron. I used to only, maybe if I even did that, at iron at the very end. Now I make sure my ironing board is really close by. So I go and iron after every seam to keep everything smooth. So I really have come to appreciate how much better your garment's going to look in the long run, and how much sewing is easier if you iron throughout the process rather than at the end or not at all. And every one of these tools that are essential that I just mentioned do two things. They are for accuracy and shape. They aren't for polish, they aren't for speed, they aren't just to make you look professional. And if you can control those two things, accuracy and shape, you can build a garment that hangs correctly. And that's the foundation of how all garments are built. And the upgrades that I've made in the past didn't fix what I hoped they would. Getting back to the issue of all of my shoulder seams shifting to the back, I tried to get more pressing tools, thinking if I just pressed it right, it would sit in the right place. But that did not help, because pressing tools is not going to affect balance. And that's what I ultimately eventually figured out, that I kept getting this shifting back because I did not have the proper balance in that seam. And often in the past, I used to sew two pieces of fabric together, and I would end, one would be like an inch longer than the other one. And so I thought maybe I'll buy a walking foot, because, the bottom feed dogs were pulling the bottom through faster than the top. And that does happen. And the walking foot definitely does help that. But what it didn't help is the way I was handling the fabric and pulling and twisting. So, and also with better pinning, I would prevent that as well. And many times in the past, I would get seams that looked very puckered, and I would adjust the tension on the machine. I would put a new needle in, I would change my thread, but it wasn't a machine issue. It was a matter of I wasn't stabilizing that area where it needed stabilizing. So that was an issue of, again, the structure of how a garment is built. Sometimes my seams wouldn't lay flat in certain areas, and so I would try to press them even more. But pressing doesn't remove bulk that should have been managed more in advance. It just reinforces what's already there. So every time I'd get a puckered seam or misaligned seams or too much bulk, I would head to my Amazon and put some tools in my cart thinking they were going to solve the issue, but they rarely did. Often they would cause more issues because I really didn't know how to use them properly, and I still had the same issue until I finally started really with pattern making. I was forced to understand how a garment is built and understand the structure. And when I moved into that, it really gave me the more insight. And those are the things that I really want to teach you. For instance, I didn't understand what each seam was really there to do. Some seams are just there to join two pieces together. Some seams are there to structure the garment around the body. Some seams are there to hold up weight. Some seams are there to manage tension so the garment is not tugging where it shouldn't. If you don't understand what a seam is responsible for, you may end up with distortion, even though your stitching is beautiful. And I didn't understand how much the order of construction really impacted the final result. And there are some moments that an area needs support, and if you miss that step, you can't go back and fix it later with tools. By the time you're at that stage, the shape has already been set. And fabric behavior is so important to understand. Some fabrics stretch under its own weight. Some fabrics will only stretch on the bias. Some fabrics will collapse around the neckline, and some fabrics will stretch out as you hang them overnight. And if you don't anticipate what fabric's going to do, no tool will be able to rescue you. And these are structural issues that we have to be aware of, and we can't pull them out of box and we can't upgrade them. It's something that we have to understand. And you cannot expect tools to fix problems they never were intended to fix. And let's be honest, there's something about buying tools that feels so good. It feels like we're leveling up. It feels like we're becoming more professional. It feels like we're closing that gap to our skills. It feels like we're really making a commitment and investing in ourselves. When we get confused, that buy now button is just so enticing. We don't have to sit with, I don't know why this garment's twisting like this. We feel like we're doing something productive. But more often than not, upgrading our tools just delays the moment of that understanding of what is really happening that's causing this problem. But tools actually begin making sense when we start understanding how garments are built. So we're not just blindly following steps, but we understand the entire structure of a garment. I didn't buy a tool because the last project disappointed me, but I am buying a tool because I have a very specific limitation that this tool can solve. That's when tools become strategic and not just hopeful. And once we have really nailed accuracy and shape, then we can move towards tools that help us with polish and speed. And if you, like me, have bought tools too early, you didn't do anything wrong, you were just trying to move forward. But having control in sewing doesn't come from accumulating new tools. It instead comes from understanding how garments are built. And if you want to better understand why blindly following sewing steps without understanding structure leaves you confused, check out this video here. And if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.